Caitlyn Clark and Fever games getting moved to bigger venues on the road is normal at this point in time. We see it happen quite often whenever that Fever show comes to town. But in this case, it is interesting considering the opponent and considering the venue. The Fever's games against the Chicago Sky in Chicago, it was announced 2 of them will be moving to the United Center. So that's significant in the sense of it will be the first games ever played by WNBA teams in the United Center. The game's on Saturday, June 7th and Sunday, July 27th. One had a date change, but they will be moving to the largest capacity arena in the NBA. More than double, I believe, what the Sky's typical home arena is able to hold. And of course, I mean, this is a duh for so many reasons. Caitlyn Clark and the Fever get this happening no matter who they're playing on the road. But in this instance, Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky in what has been dubbed a rivalry game, at least by the media, it's got a lot of attention around it. And now it's going to have a lot of fans in the house in a 2025 WNBA season that continues to go up. So, I mean, that is kind of the long and short of it. Pretty cool to see, obviously. You've got, this is the actual information from the Fever. United Center, both of those games, as you can see. At the same time, there was a quote from Caitlyn Clark previously about this last year, about changing the venue and moving it. She said, I thought it would have been really good for the game and really good for all of women's basketball fans in Chicago. Maybe there's a conflict of some sort that I don't know about. Obviously, that's a little above my pay grade. Those were comments made by Caitlyn Clark. I think it was after a game against the Atlanta Dream, before a game against the Sky. The game against the Sky, they actually lost. the one time they lost to the Sky. But this was Clark talking about that. Look at this is definitely a blast from the past, right? You got Christy Sides and Alyssa Smith right there with Caitlyn Clark. I didn't have time to crop them out of the video. Sorry, guys.
I mean, I think we're just taking it one game at a time. And I think that's why we've been able to be successful in this stretch, is because we haven't looked too far ahead. It's the game that's always just right in front of us. I'm pretty sure the only people that view this as a rivalry is all of you. Like, for us, like, it's just a game of basketball. Like, that's what it is. And if it's going to help move the game forward, absolutely. Like, that's amazing. That's what it should be. Like, people could talk about it. I mean, yeah, I saw the ticket prices. I guess the only thing is, like, I'm surprised we're not playing at the United Center. I thought that would have been really good for the game and really good for all the women's basketball fans in Chicago. So maybe there's a conflict of some sort that I don't know about. Obviously, that's a little above my pay grade. But we're excited, one game at a time. You kind of got to wipe this and learn from it. And, we travel tonight and get there and practice, and it's a prep, and then you're playing the next day at 4 p.m. So, like I said, if that's what's going to help the game move forward, absolutely. And I think the 2 prior matchups have really lived up to what everybody expected, and just really great basketball games, honestly.
So, I'm looking forward to Caitlyn Clark pressers again. I will push back on her a little bit there, just a little bit there, because yeah, she might not view it as a rivalry. And we can have discussions about, where Caitlyn Clark is on the hierarchy of players versus where Angel Reese is on the hierarchy of players, and the Rookie of the Year debate, and how I believe it became forced at a certain point in time last year. But the WNBA clearly believes that it's a rivalry as well, or is selling it as a rivalry. So the league that Clark is playing in is selling it as a rivalry because they've matched up the Fever and the Sky so many times. Those 2 teams are playing so many times. And you hear it from the commissioner herself. She mentioned, I mean, look, you would think there was a hyphen at the end of Clark. It was Caitlyn Clark hyphen and Angel Reese. But sometimes the way they were talked about and she was talked about, or it felt like Reese needed to be mentioned on top of Clark. And I don't say that as disrespect to Angel either, because Angel, I'm really impressed by what she's done in Unrivaled as of late. And I think Angel has a chance to take a real leap this season as far as her own individual game. And the Chicago Sky upgraded their roster, right? Like, when the schedule first came out and then you see the moves the Fever made, it feels like a washing. And I still think the Fever are the better team, but the Sky are a more competitive team than they were when, the Fever's announcements first came out. We knew that they got Howard and got Bonner and got Colson and got Cunningham and so on and so forth. But since then, the Sky have brought in Vandersloot and Atkins, and all that. And it seems like Reese has really worked on her game. And it would be good for the league if those games are competitive. And it would be good for the league if Reese thrusts herself into conversations that, put her amongst the actual top players in the game eventually in the future, so that she can be a part of first, second team all WNBA debates and maybe even MVP debates in the future. Who knows? But that's all good for the sport. Obviously, for some of the noise and everything else that surrounds it, it's good for the sport. Barbie night, why did Clark fans have so much fun rubbing that in? Because it was Barbie night in Chicago, because there is a sense of rivalry, and that's healthy. Nothing wrong with that when it's kept between the lines, when it's about basketball, and when people don't go out of their way to crap on Angel Reese for no reason on one side, or make Clark's success about something it's not on the other side, right? And they won't be aligned in this Rookie of the Year debate that, again, felt manufactured to me. So I think that will allow them to be spaced out a little bit, other than when they meet one another. And when they meet one another, we should be talking about it. It should be hyped that way. That's how you sell sports. That's how you sell games. And I understand, for the Fever, like I said at the top of this video, they can go anywhere and they're changing the venue, right? We get it. It's been said ad nauseum. But there is an extra degree of sauce when it's Chicago. That's fair too. I mean, those were some of the highest rated games last year when it was the Fever specifically against Reese in the Sky. So all of that combined, I think, gives you this, cool thing for the league to promote. I mean, they understand. They're not dumb. And I think the fans get excited about it too. Right? It's not deep. I guess is what I'm trying to say. This is not a complicated issue or a subject that requires a ton of analysis. Supply and demand is a simple formula. And there is great demand for the Fever and Sky matchups, for Caitlyn Clark and Angel Reese matchups. And now there is more supply because they're moving to a bigger venue, a bigger house. Look, Caitlyn Clark herself called for it. Remember, she asked for the All-Star game in Indy. That happened. Now she asked for the United Center in Chicago. And as a result, not directly because of her, I'm saying, but because of everything I just said, the Sky and Fever games in Chicago get a huge change.